very much. All right, so first of all, it's been about at least 5 years since I've done something like this, so just bear with me. So my name is Tiffany A. Christian. The A stands for irony. Yeah, bored with it. I am a first-year PhD student in American Studies at Washington State University, and I'm here today to talk about myself. So, that's fantastic. I was born late in the year of the bicentennial, so math people, feel free to do your math. So, sometimes I get a reputation for thinking that it's all about me. But I also know that the personal is the political, and the political is the personal. So my hope is that by sharing part of my story with you via poetry, visuals, etc., I can add to the larger discussions that we've been having today. So when I first got wind of this conference, and I saw that it accepted creative readings, I said to myself, weren't you a poetic performer at one point in your life? And wouldn't it be neat to do that again? And I responded, have you forgotten how exhausting it is to be around people? Introversion, Asperger's, body image issues. There are reasons why I stopped doing poetry in public for many years. But as the conversation with myself continued, as it can for hours, I thought about the good reasons that I had for wanting to do this. I haven't yet found any decent karaoke around here. So I need some kind of performance outlet. And I got things to say and ways to say them. So here goes. The title of my presentation today is Evolution of a Fat, Queer, Feminist Poet. There are two words in particular that I want to focus on today, since I've been told that it's good to focus. The first is evolution. So I want to be clear that when I use the word evolution, I don't necessarily mean progress from good to bad in a sort of linear fashion, or from not so good to better. My writing, like the rest of me, morphs to fit phases of my life, from the very grounded to the very surreal and back again. And I make no claims to my poetry having gotten better over time. Just trust me. As for fat, well, whatever or whatever else has been part of my life, when I was questioning or hiding my sexual orientation, when I stopped being a poet and didn't write for years, when I thought, like so many others, that feminism wasn't necessary anymore, and even when for a few years of my adult life I passed for a normal-sized person, through all of that, fatness has been part of my life. Irreverent, contradictory, furious, and funny. I talk about it now because it tends not to get talked about, or the conversation gets diverted by talking about health. I talk about it because a lot of people still seem to think that fat jokes are acceptable, that fatness is always an individual choice, and that anyone making the wrong choices is more deserving of bias, of discrimination. That people who are seriously fat, and I'm not talking 20 pounds overweight here, are somehow less human, less worthy of dignity and respect. To that I go hard. Fat touches every part of my life, and I hope that by providing a glimpse into that life, I can point to the need for respect and understanding in a society that loathes fat people, and fat women in particular. I have a note to drink water. So I'm going to start somewhere in the middle. In 1997, I transferred from community college to Pacific University, where I decided to double major in creative writing and English literature. Why, I don't know. Thus, I was fairly prolific for a few years in both poetry and short fiction. So I'm going to give you a tiny, tiny sample of this early phase of my career. This is called Found Advertisements in a Roman's Catalog and Various Department Store Tabs. A new way of looking at clothes! It's in all caps. Classically styled for the way you live today, crafted with pride in the USA. Lee relaxed fit jeans offer a comfortable, flattering fit. Knit wider at thigh, calf, and ankle. To size 6 $60. Mrs. Even Waists, medium, large, 1X, $18.99. 2X, 3X, 4X, $20.99. For comfort, fit, and longer wear, this garment is fully lined. Quality details ensure durability. Elasticized wrap has convenient Velcro closure. Perfectly proportioned for plus-size women. The one and only Wonder Bra. It works wonders. Long leg panty girdle with 4-inch high super cincher waist. Subtracts unwanted inches instantly. Trims tummy, supports back, controls midriff, provides a smooth, sleek look comfortably. Spliced tank swimsuit gives the illusion of a minimized waist. De-emphasizer high waist brief flattens, slims, and shapes so you look one size smaller. Constructed with crisscrossing inner bands that provide the right amount of control. World-famous Lee jeans, proportioned to fit every body. Comfort, 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 control, comfy, control, comfortable, control. This, also from around the same time, called The Meaning of Life at Winchell's. Yeah, you'll get it, I'm a geek. I walked into a donut shop one afternoon. There were a few people scattered about, sitting down with donuts, sometimes coffee, sometimes cappuccino. I peered into the glass case, searching for El Donut Extraordinaire. As my eye wandered over blue and green sprinkles, I saw a fat man sitting in the corner of the shop. He'd squeezed himself into a little white swivel chair, paunch resting on the round tabletop. He hurried through 3 donuts, like a stray dog swallowing the scraps before the dog catcher turns the corner. I decided to get my donut to go. It wouldn't do to have 2 fat people eating in the same donut shop. Fat man's donuts were pretty much all the same. 2 plain, 1 glazed, nothing fancy like my sprinkles. As the counter lady tucked my donut into a sack, her fingers pressing into the soft mass, I started to play a game, matching personalities to donuts. Fat man must be an ordinary, unassuming guy, at least as much as he could be. I was the outgoing one, a lot of show on top, though still soft and squishy underneath. But as I kept looking at our donuts, I noticed one common thing among them. My donut and each of his donuts contained a large hole in the center. And the more we ate, the more it grew in proportion, until nothing but the hole was left. The poem that I thought was my crowning achievement during this period was a piece I worked quite hard on for several years. So I'd been reading a lot of Walt Whitman at the time, as you'll see, and I had just found out that he was more than likely queer, so that made me so incredibly happy. I wanted to do a poem that explored homosexuality from a female perspective, and I also wanted to give people a poem that celebrated fatness. But as I wasn't comfortable with either my queerness or my fatness at this point, or in terms of my fatness ever, I think this poem shows it. What I wanted to do, as I was writing, was to show a large woman to be an earth mother figure, as awesome as nature is. But among other issues, the overuse of metaphor creates a distance from the physical subject that was actually me hiding from the woman's body. I read this poem now with an amazing amount of embarrassment. Not because the speaker is celebrating a large woman's sexual being, but because the nature metaphors are just so awful to me now. It's called Shrine. Wait, I gotta get this. Shrine. There you stand, beauty triumphant, in the massive power of roll and curve, in the uncharted body land. You're in the Walt Whitman already? You are a testament to the power of the world, the power of truth, of earthy grace, of beauty not inner or outer, but whole, complete, large. Nothing weighs you down. Your bulk floats in the ocean, my lifeboat. I cling to you with sticky, desperate fingers, aching for the assurance your body provides. The body of ages, encompassing all. You carry the weight of the world. Your flesh ripples like the dunes, strident wandering, a vast expanse of smooth sand or skin. That's the long view anyway, and this is in parentheses, very well, women. That's the long view anyway. Who knows but that you wouldn't have more texture up close, as my eyes bore into the pores of your skin, oh wondrous immense stretch of skin. I worship you, my shrine, my overwhelming temple of flesh, and my brain will feverishly catalog all of your glorious attributes until I am drunk with the sight. You are a monument, withstanding time, because there have always been fat women, and there will always be fat women, and your fatness is eternal, controlling, powerful, covering the globe. Oh, mountainous breasts, that I might have the courage to go climbing and reach the peaks. Oh, little hills and big hills of flesh that surround your back. It keeps going. I long to skip over them with trembling, unworthy fingers. Oh, huge overhanging stomach with deep pool of navel. I yearn to jump in and skinny dip all the way to your heart, your womb. Oh, wide thighs, grand pathways, how I could imagine zooming along your generous tracks with zesty fingers, lively lips. Oh, if I could express with my fleshy hands those thoughts pushing at the back of my eyelids, I would do more than dare contemplate the joy of your enormous forested mound. I would walk through the dense undergrowth with a rapturous tongue and look for a perfect pine cone. Oh, large buttocks, poking out of the southern hemisphere, I would be keen to explore the heights and the depths of mountains and ravines and fly down the side of the abyss, never to return. I worship you and cherish you, my huge, gigantic, fantastic, enormous, terrifying, awesome, magnificent vision of womanhood, my joy, my shame, my regret, my wonder, my afterlife. Alright, so after I got my bachelor's degree, I went through a phase where I thought that poetry had to be misunderstood by the reader, right? Or that the emphasis should be on sound and rhythm and form, where the content's meaning could only have an agenda to the writer. In other words, I was writing stuff that was bloody incoherent, even now, but at least it's fun to look at. So, I'm going to read it, no worries. So this poem is inspired by Edwin Abbott's short book, Flatland. In the book, the people are all two-dimensional shapes. And the more sides you have, the higher class you are. Okay? But all women in the book, in Flatland at least, are straight lines. One line. Okay? I have issues with that. And just to clarify a little bit more, the main character is a square, and he also visits the land of one dimension, where the king is a straight line. Okay, so here's the word monarch. Okay, to the residents of Flatland. I can see into your intestines, humble lawyer, your belly, your back. Is every A an isosceles? The rapidly dimming sides in the fog constitute danger. Lack of fog and south immobilize. The specks connect, faces, routines, geometry. He enters the wrong door. Be careful, your father comes. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. I care more for my sons than for you. My own sides are circumspect. Circularness is godliness. On the table, an open book proclaims the future. The Pentagon shall be more mighty than all the tradesmen on earth. Praise be, praise be. I am writing to inform you that your women have more memory than you think. They're all monarchs. Peace cry the warbles, the elegant, undulating rhythm of femininity. All points, frail withering, dangerous elemental, know their sting. The eye and mouth, the same orifice. Insert reverence here. Is this the epitome of the universe? I find you colorless and bland, says the cube. Go your own way and feel your neighbors. Make sure they are not irregular. Check your neighbors for irregularity. Check your women for irregularity. One lustrous point can kill a whole neighborhood. Go about your business and forget me. I can disappear, shrink, expand. I am your God. Life ends at the third dimension. apocalypse and the post-apocalypse. I think that one reason for this is the sense of loneliness that comes with thinking about the world after the end of the world. So I wrote poems about a future where it's acceptable to speak of one's loneliness. This is called Spider of the Apocalypse. Yellow feather drift through purple sky, the yawning time comes, and nestle he with the bones of bones and bones and bones, each to own, the tent filled with noxious gas. To each to own, and owning this skull with the spider inside is not much to trade. The time its own master, of here and then of this tiny life, picking its way through what used to be I, and brain and bone and liver and sky, back, spider, back, the rocks covered with foretime glass. Back, inchful spider, where is your peg leg? But we all have missing limbs. The Scheisse time comes, with tiny white dots the size of spiders and wind of dust, carry what tears were his, or hers, I know not this, and to lay among the rocks, and sticks and twigs and broken clocks. Do not bite me, spider, all the bones grow blankets. Do not bite me, spider, I have no wish to be a hero. Noxious, noxious knock, where drifted letters with the wind, and purple dust filled with dots. I had a yellow feather, but whether the weather is better is beyond me and skull together. Sleep, spider, while I look a while. In 2003, my life changed. I decided I had enough of the daily abuse about my weight from, well, everybody. I've been dieting since junior high, from Nutrisystem to Slim Fast to diet pills to good old walking around the track 4 times a week, trying to stay away from sugar, which is about the limit of my knowledge of nutrition at that point. Early that year, during the visit to a walk-in clinic for people without health insurance, I couldn't get any because of my height-weight ratio, even though I had nothing else wrong with me. The doctor on duty told me bluntly, you need to lose weight or you're going to die. Straight to my face. She tried to say it gently, but how exactly does one do that? So, I got a gastric bypass. And then, I wrote a lament to the stomach that I once had. There's another one where I have to get the stance. It's an ode. It's the ode to my stomach. Ready? Great warrior of old, football-sized mass, noble in digestive aspect, how once I loved you in all your glory, you comforter of endless lonely nights. As I gave, you took, but you gifted me in fullness the contented rumblings of a well-fed monster. And I, both master and slave, caressed you with sugar, fondled you with French fries. Now, you have been wounded. Small steel punctures cut the larger portion of you, made you small, weak, divided from yourself. Apocalypse intestines, how they must loathe the new root. Sugar dissolves into chaos. Potatoes wreak havoc, sticking ash spears into your aching sides, causing you to gurgle most unpleasantly. You are the fallen hero in this invasion of violence benevolence, and I mourn you accordingly. So the first few years after surgery were, to be honest, some of the happiest of my life, or so I thought. Because, you see, I passed. Passed. People on the street no longer commented on my weight. I could fit into boots, I had more clothing options, I had more stamina for things. But fatness as a state of being doesn't melt away as magically as the actual pounds did. I still fought like a fat person. I still looked around in restaurants to see whether people were staring at me and my food. I still eyeballed booth dimensions. I still gave people the widest berth possible on stairways and sidewalks, and I still expected them to do the same. I still dressed in clothes that hid my body because I didn't want people to be offended by my roles. So this came out in a very short, relatively awful poem that I wrote in 2006 called Gastric Phenomenon, this idea that I'm still thinking like a large person. To exercise the ghosts who like to travel, she crosses her legs at every available opportunity. Get thee gone, banished to the fiery pits of nothingness, as she easily slides into the slick red restaurant booth. An Ave Corpus Hail Mary Satan comeuppance for every turnstile. Only this ghost to remain, the haunting spirit of oh so much flesh, heavier than any shade has right. At the same time, I struggled with my queerness. That's kind of an underlying theme throughout. How could I possibly be attracted to other women when I found my own body so troubling? Did I actually want them, or did I just want to be them? In 2007, I started a fictional blog online called The Space Chronicles. The premise is that I'd been invited by aliens to live aboard their ship with a bunch of other humans and travel through space. So the piece I'm going to read was originally written as an encounter between my spacefaring self and a man, but I deliberately changed the other character to a woman just to see how I would respond to it. I thought it turned out pretty hot. So, yeah. So, pictures. So this is called Sex in the Void, and it's very, very truncated from the original blog post. So in this post, my alter ego is sitting in a virtual reality room. Okay, kind of think holodeck, you know, Star Trek. So that room is programmed to look like outer space. Okay, so she's sitting in it. I heard the singular ping that meant someone wanted to contact me even though my time wasn't up. I ignored it. It pinged again. Irritated, I called out for a name. It's me. I said nothing. I sat in the farthest corner of the room, my face half turned from her, my knees at my chest. I had programmed the room to play Brian Eno on loop. She inched toward me, walking cautiously at first, then striding through space with more confidence. What's going on with this? She waved her hand at the room. This? This is nothing. Are you kidding? It's incredible. No, I meant literally. It's nothing. Except for the nebula. That wasn't my idea. I get it, she said. You don't. I do, and I don't. I get my own view of it. I don't get yours. I wish I did, and I wish I didn't. She sat down next to me, reached her hand over to angle my face so that I was looking at her, at those incredible green eyes. She ran her thumb over my lips, my cheek. I felt tears building, and I let them fall. She didn't tell me not to cry, that everything would be all right. We kissed. That kiss was what eternity is made from. From there it progressed to touching, arousing not just each other's bodies, but reaching into that void and pulling out the loneliness, letting it participate in everything we did to each other so that, even as we connected, we each remained beautifully separate, cosmically alone. The orgasms unfolded like space. We traveled through dimensions. There was never a moment where I believed that we were two human women having sex. It was always reaching for the farthest galaxy, never quite able to touch, and yet so intimate as she stroked my hair. We fell asleep in that room, entwined in each other. And for the first time since arriving on the ship, I dreamed. I dreamed I was a tiny piece of rainbow light with many voices dining on fruitcake and tea with James Joyce. I dreamed of cats riding on trains in the desert, of Hitler on a moon base and madly in love with me, of traipsing around a rickety building looking for stone gods. I dreamed real dreams, all of them epic and technicolor, the kinds of dreams that make me happy, precisely because I knew when I woke up, they'd be gone forever. So that was around 2007. So also beginning 2007, I started gaining weight back. Slowly at first, it crept up on me like I figured it would. They warned us about that, but it didn't stop. I still had many of my new eating and exercise habits, but the weight still came back. I couldn't stop it. I tried ignoring it. I started going out more, started drinking quite a bit. I'm sure that didn't help. And doing a lot of karaoke. A lot of karaoke. I hung out, hooked up, raged and cried, and still the weight came back. In that time, I stopped writing in a creative way almost entirely. It hurt too much. I wound up getting another master's degree in folklore and discovered that I had a talent for making documentaries. So that about brings us to now. And now I find myself in yet another grad program, seeking yet another degree, and in my 10th year after surgery, almost back at my original weight, plus a host of side problems. And I'm still struggling with how I feel about that. I know better now how to think about fatness on a structural societal level. I know better now how to respond when people talk about fatness and health in the same breath. And I've also rediscovered my love of writing. I remember how much fun it can be to string words together in a way that makes me giggle or moan or sob. I remember how much I've used this skill to unleash both my humor and my rage. And to end this presentation, I have to share with you 2 works in progress, and I say that emphatically, works in progress, written more or less specifically as performance pieces. So, the first is called Going Down. It's not as sexy as it sounds. Capacity 4,000 lbs. Subtract 350. Be honest. 360. Shake head. That leaves 3,640 pounds. Average body mass of an adult male, read somewhere on the internet, 154 pounds. Average body mass of an adult female, as told to me repeatedly by my grandmother, my mother, the popular girls in the locker room in high school, the jocks in sophomore hall, every well-meaning adult who ever told me I had a pretty face, and that random kid who yelled "Fat pig" outside Safeway the other day, 135 pounds. 360 pounds divided by 135 pounds equals 2.6666666. So I equal those 2 average-sized female economics majors jabbering at each other about whatever average-sized women jabber about, and 2/3 of that female English major. Perhaps I should add 10 pounds there, since she's carrying the complete works of Shakespeare. When 2 average-sized male history majors and 1/3 of a male engineering major, for kicks, let's just say he's working on a queer studies minor, enter the elevator on the 4th floor, the 5 of them equal 2 of me, roughly. Calculate the leftover numbers. 45 plus 51 plus 51 is 147. Capacity, 4,000 lbs. The stark font stares back at me, pounds through my aching brain. 360 plus 360 plus 360 plus 147 estimated is 1,227, almost 1/3 the way to capacity. Going down, the elevator grinds, wheezes. I find myself slightly panicked, if one can be slightly panicked, when another average-sized woman enters on the 3rd floor. Frantic, add another 135 pounds, and fuck, I forgot to add their knapsacks. How much farther from disaster might they be if I had not been on the elevator? Dear people, I apologize. Capacity 4,000 lbs. But don't you see how careful I am being? I am the weight monitor, here to keep you all from a gruesome fate. Final poem. Tentatively titled, The Empty-Faced Dough Girl. The jocks prepare their next attack, grinning, just past the doors to the cafeteria. "Stupid fat pig," they yell as she walks by in a green jumpsuit. The empty-faced dough girl doesn't slow down, bows her head, tries to shrink into her books for English class. She quietly destroys the curve in algebra, slices open fetal pigs in biology with the precision of a warrior of old, spills bloody words over pristine pages, fragile walls against the siege. The girls in the high school locker room put their hands on their bony hips and wail at each other, "I'm so fat!" While the empty-faced dough girl sits at the end of the bench, the small white school towel wrapped as far around her as it will go, so large that she doesn't exist, until the gym teacher forces her into the shower stall, whips the towel away. She stands on the choir risers among the altos, so-called earth mamas, wearing someone's idea of a flattering choir dress. Slinky fabric that clings to every roll, the short sleeves hiding nothing of her batwing arms. Hers costs almost twice as much as the other girls, and still it stretches badly over her bulging stomach, sticks to the front of her thick thighs, the glare of the lights blotting out audience eyes, 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 eyes. She wonders how often those eyes keep sliding back to her ill-fitting attire, and her low E warbles with unsteady breath. Taking an afternoon off from community college, the empty-faced dough girl forces a smile during the job interview. Why do you want to work here? Because she's heard you'll hire anybody. I'm sorry, I don't think you're the right fit. She scans the bags of sugar in the baking aisle. Here's a sniff. A thin, hard-looking woman with bone eyes interrogates her shopping cart. Do you really think you need that, she says, before walking away. Empty face, empty face, empty face. She decides not to bake cookies for her new graduate school community. She fantasizes that aliens abduct her because they want to study her darkest dreaming. And in return, they adjust her metabolism, cure her hypoglycemia, undo her RNY, regrow her cartilage, do away with her arthritis, correct her astigmatism, fix her gene for female pattern baldness, and tell her that she will never be normal. She steps onto the karaoke stage. It's a new bar, but the rules are always the same. No heckling, no repeat songs, show support. She draws breath, forces her face into action. I see your true colors shining through. Come to the castle, you won't be disappointed. We've got all the things that a castle should have. And down the road that I must travel, curious through the darkness of the night when I was walking in Memphis. Do I really feel the way I feel? She steps down from the mic. No one seems to notice. The empty-faced dough girl turns up the volume, lets the beat wash over her, stomps around the living room while the cat looks on with ears laid back. She revels in rhythm, yells, "Fuck you, knees!" Laughs because she thinks she's hilarious. She waits at the bus stop, her hands in her pockets, empty face pointed at the sky. Eyes never empty. "Stupid fat pig!" yell a couple of undergrad yahoos as they drive by in a green jalopy. She chuckles. She'd forgotten anyone could see her. Thank you very much.